Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Namrata, and I'm the co-founder for Shift Eco. Um, I think for those of you, I guess all of you know Shift Eco, but Shift Eco is your one-stop shop for eco-friendly products. And as part of our work, we always like to engage in dialogues and trying to understand different facets of sustainability. And today we're going to talk about a really grave topic, is the environment crisis. Now, all of us as consumers, as citizens, we all know that there's a major crisis that we are facing today. But we have a lovely group of people, both Tatiana and Unsi, who are here to help us decode and understand this crisis a lot more and actually understand the implications that this crisis has on us individually and personally. So before we start, I'd love for Tatiana and Unsi to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit more about what they do. Over to you.
Thank you, Namrata. Hello, everyone. So my name is Tatiana. I'm the founder of Gumbuk. Gumbuk is a social enterprise. We started back in 2009 with the idea to changing mindsets, being able to raise awareness about specific topics related to sustainability. At that time, I would say it was more about going green. And then hopefully things have changed. Actually, thankfully, things have changed. And now we're able to talk about sustainability and impact. But really, the idea was to highlight things that are happening here in this part of the world, in the UAE, and how we could all, change and have an impact on our own, being residents, citizens, but also companies. And so it's about water, electricity, energy, nature, and many other things such as waste and food waste. I could continue, but it's been a great experience all over these years. And I have to say, from my point of view, a lot has happened, a lot has changed, and so overall, I think it's very positive.
It's
Thanks.
nice to hear that it's positive.
Indeed. And I can witness actually, because so I founded IDAMA, which is as well a social enterprise in 2015. And I think since 2016, we've been collaborating together with Tatiana and Gumbuk. And for us, it has been a great help and great that they are around. And yeah, probably at that time, there were not many other players. Now, thankfully, as you said, there are many more. And so what we do is, in terms of topics, I think we share the observation or the constatation that all the ways humans interact with their environment are important, therefore can be water, climate, energy, etc. So we work on all those topics. What we do, however, is training and activities. So we really work with people so that they get through learning by doing, through an experiential learning experience. So that can be technical sustainability, or that can be entrepreneurship, impact entrepreneurship. So helping companies, especially people who are founding their venture, be socially and environmentally responsible. And before the present health crisis, we used to work a lot with schools. It was actually our main partnership, our main clients. Now, obviously, we shifted more towards adults. Still working with kids, but in different frames. But we really try to talk to all the players in society, or all the parts of society.
Right. That's really interesting. Thanks for that, Unsi. And thanks, Tatiana. To start off and kickstart the session, firstly, both Gumbuk and IDAMA are doing really interesting work. In basis of that, I want you to tell us about this crisis we are facing. Tell us about key stats or key concerns that we are facing today.
Want to go ahead?
Well, I think it's very difficult to just approach it saying just that it's an environmental crisis. There are so many different factors. Yeah. And I think this is also why a lot of people feel somehow scared and disconnected from this crisis, because it's very hard to understand what it is. what we can do, and somehow it feels much, much bigger than us. The environmental crisis starts from the way we consume, I would say, and we consume not only as consumers, direct consumers, but also the way we produce things. And the way we produce things, we need resources, and the way we use these resources, I think, is the start of the main environmental issue. To produce anything, food, items, clothing, we need primary resources. We need water, and then we need land to cultivate for food, but also for textile, for example. We need metals. We need to mine, and then all these things come to us. And unfortunately, in the past years, I feel it's been about fast consumerism. So we want more, we want fast, and we don't really think about these things having to last a long time. So we waste a lot, and somehow I think that's where the problem is. The economy for the past years has really looking at this model of producing, consuming, wasting, and then it goes somewhere. We don't know where. The interesting thing nowadays, finally, more and more, we're talking about the circular economy, and that's where, for the environment, there is some light and some hope, looking at using differently resources and hopefully not wasting the same way we're wasting today. But to do this, you need a lot of work and a lot of training, working with youth, working also with us adults, in changing our behavior. And I think the main message, I don't know if Unsi agrees, it's about starting small and not, scaring people and not blaming anyone. It's not all about us. It's not all about governments. It's not all about major corporations. It's about finding the right framework, the policies, the regulation, and of course, us changing behavior. But everything needs to happen together. And I think in the past years, and maybe specifically with COVID, we've seen much more interest and much more somehow sense of urgency that this is important. And I feel things are really changing fast. Now we need to see how many financial resources are available from governments, and to put together the policies, and hopefully also subsidies to make the whole wheel start moving.
Right.
But yeah.
I wanted to say that you're being too modest, actually, because I fully agree on the fact that people need to start small and no guilt feeling. But I really support the way you're saying it. On the other hand, that doesn't mean that you and us and all together as organizations, we don't want to look big, and you do it. Actually, you do lobbying and advocacy, and you talk with big players, and I think it's the right thing to do as well. It doesn't mean that we should not be as individuals, all of us, changing behavior. That I agree with you. But the fact that you're talking on both levels, I think, is important. And so to come back to just to add, let's say, about the environmental crisis, completely agree on the circular and linear functioning. So you mentioned the fact that we throw. It's obviously not sustainable because the tank is going to be empty at some point and the bin is going to be full, right? And both are planet Earth. So our reserves and our trash piles will be one empty, the other full. So that's really a way. So nature has sustained itself for, I don't know, we hear 4 billion years. That's quite a lot, right? It's quite a lot, like much more than what we can understand. And even if it's 1 million, even if it's 10, it doesn't matter. It's a lot. And how? By having a circular way of functioning, by having the life cycle, by having the water cycle, by having the cycles of the seasons. All those are cycles. And we are completely forgetting that we should also continue working in cycles. And fact is, since the Industrial Revolution, we have coal, we have oil, we have a lot of energy. We can move complete, we can change, we can erase forests, we can change the North and South Pole. We are able to impact every single square centimeter on this planet. And so we have a responsibility. We cannot just consider that nature will recycle stuff. We do have a responsibility, change our consumption habits, because we are able to negatively impact if we don't change our mobility habits, change the way we see our resources, energy, so oil, for example, materials for electronics, for plastics, but also for glass, for whatever, for anything. All those, we are so advanced technologically that we are able really to mess it. And we are doing it a little bit. And we are able to fix it because we are clever and powerful enough, thanks to really energy and technical progress. So we can go in both directions, and we should now continue the shift that is in your name and that is very relevant towards circular economy, towards more respect for what is around us, which is our environment. And just mentioning the environmental crisis is there. It's manifold. It's related to consumption. It's related to energy and climate, etc. It's there. We already messed some stuff, but we can not go back, but we can fix. We can go towards better. We have completely the possibility to do it. That's for sure.
Okay, so I mean, of course, with circular economy and with the way we consume and conscious consumerism, a lot of these patterns can be changed. But say, starting on a morbid note, and say nothing changes, status quo remains, and we are sitting in, say, 2050. What do you think things will look like if there is no change in the way all of us are, whether that's corporations, governments, and individuals?
So that's the collapse scenario. There are books, actually. There are theories about the collapse. It doesn't look very good, I have to say. It doesn't look so fun, yeah. Right. So maybe I'll give you 2 or 3 elements, and then you guys can add. So one is climate related, obviously. Now we don't know exactly the indirect consequences of climate change. You know, there is first point, climate is changing. This will bring extreme phenomena that are already happening: storms, droughts, cyclones, extremely melting of the poles, and therefore ocean surface rise. This is a direct consequence, not very fun. Already we have 10 to 20 million climate refugees on this planet. Now the indirect effect, the oceans might not be able to absorb any more carbon dioxide, so our atmosphere composition might change. Permafrost, which is the icy layer in the northern parts of the Earth, so in Siberia, for example, but those are possibilities. We not might melt and emit quite a large quantity of methane, which is an extremely greenhouse. It's a gas that has a high greenhouse impact and might start a vicious cycle for climate. So that's about the climate. And then about the resources, well, we might run out. It's not a joke. Like, we might run out of indium, of cadmium for our electronics. Stop electronics, stop the whole planet today. We might run out of oil. We might run out of sweet water. We might run out. And running out, what does that mean? I will say one word. It means war, because we won't all run out. Some will try to take them for themselves, unfortunately. That's really the dark scenario, no?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't want to think about it, because then it means that why are we even, having children?
Because it's not going to happen.
Because I don't want this to happen, yes. And I think we have the capability. If there is one good thing about humans, is that we can think, we can make amazing things. So yes, we can do a lot of things wrong. We can overconsume, we can do, but because we need to learn. I think it's a process for us to do things and learn from them. And somehow, in this case, there was not enough evidence already 20, 30 years ago, when some people started talking about, climate change and CO2 emissions. There was not enough evidence. And somehow also, I think we were coming from an economical scenario where everything was doing great. Most of the countries were, you know, in total boom. And why do you worry when things are going well? It's not in our nature. But humans are capable in moments of crisis to actually put all their resources and thinking into finding solutions. And I think this is what's happening now. We do have the data finally. There's really enough data for everyone to understand that this is happening. And what Unsi was talking about, you know, the permafrost happening in Siberia and melting, it's already happening. And my brother-in-law actually is a reporter for the New York Times, and he went last summer to Siberia and to show what's happening, and it's horrifying. And unfortunately, because humans are also sometimes horrible, a lot of people are using this melting of the permafrost to retrieve, for example, bones from, you know, other eras, and there's a sub market of other things. But then, yes, everything is melting, and the environmental and the pollution around this is horrible.
Right.
So things are happening, but again, this provides the data and the evidence for everyone to then move and change. And what is happening now in the past 2 years, the level of renewable energy and renewable, you know, plants and being built all over the world is incredible. Also, why the prices have crashed and it's much more affordable. You do have much more conscious about plastic pollution. Something that 5 years ago people would look at you saying, "Oh, stop with this thing about plastic pollution. Who cares?" Now, from any age, any demographics, people are aware. So if 5 years ago I would have to insist with my in-laws saying, "Please take the reusable bag to go to the supermarket," and they will look at me like she's a pain in the neck. Now they have it. It's a habit, and actually they're worried for their grandchildren. So somehow there's been a great work worldwide. I think also what happened with the United Nations for World Environment Day back in 2018, you know, pushing a lot of information and awareness on plastic pollution has helped. And again, this shows how information is key, but also how different bodies are key. So you do have the governments, you have educational, but then you have these organizations such as the UN also who play an important role. So again, it's something that needs to happen. Now that the new trend is electric vehicles, it's all over. In Dubai, we're very lucky. We are actually one of the cities that has the most recharge stations, I think, in the world. So now it's all about, you know, empowering people to be able to purchase electric vehicles, and maybe hopefully subsidies. I mean, in Europe, in the States, you see subsidies for people to buy electric vehicles. Here you have some advantages. You might not, you know, pay parking, you might not pay for SALIC, but still the cars that are coming to the market are very high-end and luxurious cars, not enough of, you know, more affordable cars. And at the end of the day, this is what we need to push forward, is green needs to be affordable, sustainability needs to be affordable. It cannot be something for an elite. It needs to be something that everyone should be able to afford and choose to do. So it's also about food. You know, we know that organic food is better. It's better for us to consuming. It's better for the planet, for the soil. But again, it cannot be 2-3 times the price of regular agriculture. But again, here we can see so much innovation happening. We have the biggest indoor farms doing hydroponics and vertical farming. Such, again, very important push and support from the government in terms of food security. So you see, in just a few minutes, we're talking about so many things that are very different from them. One is food, and the other one is energy, and then the other one is mobility. It's because the environmental crisis, at the end of the day, is a world crisis. It's our future. It's something that, unfortunately, we should not call anymore environmental crisis, because it's too much linked to, the green people, it's, you know, hug my planet thing. No, it's something that is a reality, and it's affecting our economies, our health, our survival. So it's a crisis, and I think it's important to highlight this, that it's not just the environment. And there was a comedian some years ago, he was so fun. I mean, fun and sad at the same time. But he was like, we're always talking about save the planet, save the planet. Well, the planet doesn't need much saving. The planet has been, surviving for billions of years. What's going to happen? The planet is just going to scroll humans off its crust and it's going to go ahead with other species that are going to be adapted to the new climate. It's just that we need to be saved. This is what we need to focus on. Humans need to be
Fully
saved.
agree.
Because our oxygen and our water and our food are not going to be there.
Yes.
So it's a human crisis, I would say.
No, that's a really good analogy. And I like that a lot. I think we've talked about a lot of different facets. We've talked about electric vehicles, you've talked about hydroponics, but there's certain elements of this human crisis, as you want to call it, more specific to the MENA region. So if we have to go a little bit more regional, of course, there are different issues. There could be governance, there could be, food and water insecurity. Which of these topics are more pertinent to the MENA region more specifically?
So MENA is a bit big, yeah. So you have various climates and various. So maybe we can start by the Gulf, because it shares a climate and a geography, and the Gulf is one of the weak spots of the planet. Any region of the world that has an extreme climate already is one that is at a higher risk than others, than the ones that have temperate climates or tropical climates. So the Gulf is a region that might be at the front line of the environmental human crisis. And the main evolution that might happen is temperature change, is the average temperature change. And then with consequences such as water shortage, such as need for increased energy consumption. So this is a bit of a specificity. And another one is the fact that it's a region that's booming. It's been booming, let's say, since 40-50 years approximately. And with this boom comes sometimes uncontrolled growth, because as human societies, naturally for human societies, they want to grow, and then they will think later about how to fix what did not grow properly. So consumption is today not very well, let's say, controlled or monitored. As well as waste disposal. Those are big challenges for the region, so in parallel, somehow natural habitats, which sometimes we have a negative view over natural habitats in the Gulf by people from the Gulf or people who have been in the Gulf for long, which I disagree with, because the desert is full of life, and there is not only desert in the Gulf. So those are also not very well so far protected. We can see that they start, and for both of those, actually, but Gumbuk in particular, we are working on those topics. But yeah, so those are, I would say, attention, at least part of the attention points,
right,
that are specific. What do you think?
Anything you need to add, Tatiana?
No, I agree. And what is scary, I think, is when you hear numbers announced, or just pop like this. Oh, we want 20 million people to come to the UAE in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
that's scary. That's
and
the same is happening in Saudi, building these new cities and new regions that are supposed to contain millions of people. Well, we need to understand where are we right now, right? Water scarcity is a reality. We cannot think to desalinate for the rest of the life of the planet. We need to acknowledge certain emergencies right now. We have been already desalinating too much in the Gulf, and you have to think that so many countries are actually using the Gulf, and through desalination, 50% of the water comes in our showers and we drink it. The other 50% goes back into the Gulf with all the salts and all the chemicals. So we are actually creating a new Dead Sea. And in other areas outside in the Indian Ocean, we are actually creating dead zones where actually 70% of it is not alive anymore. There's not enough oxygen. So here, what I see is, yes, growth, but we need to make sure that we monitor this growth and that it's a sustainable growth. Where are we going to take the water for this population, this new population that's going to come? Yes, there are new technologies, new innovations. Now, water from the air seems to be the latest thing. We have a lot of humidity here. So yes, that could be a solution. But again, you know, if we grow here, there's not much agriculture in this part of the world. And so we're going to have to import a lot of animals, livestock, and we're going to have to feed them. There's no grass here, so we're going to have to import the grass. So again, carbon emissions of our, what is our footprint to live in an area where it's mostly a desert? This for me is a bit of a scary part. And then of course we are living in an area that's heavily reliant on fossil fuels. So of course we can see how the UAE is pushing for renewables because they see that the future is that. But what about the rest of the region, and are we going to make this in time? There are also other reports that have come up talking about, you know, how oil is going to be used in a different way. So not only as fuel, but of course the plastic industry seems to be for many, you know, oh great, so we're going to be able to use the oil now to produce more plastic. So again, the economies need to thrive, and we need to make sure to find the right way for them to thrive, right? We need to look at other economies that are local, that could thrive, and maybe replace ones that we have right now. For us, for example, at Gumbuk, we've launched 3 years ago a campaign called UAE Can, and it's about replacing single-use plastics with aluminium. You have to think that the UAE is the 3rd producer worldwide of aluminium, or manufacturer. But at the end of the day, this aluminium is being sent all over the world. And here we produce everything in plastic. But bottled water can be actually canned in an aluminium can. All the, you know, the shampoo, the solar liquid, and your dishwashing, any kind of container could actually be made out of aluminium instead of plastic. Aluminium is highly recyclable. It's maybe one of the most recyclable items. 75% of all the aluminium that has ever been produced is still in the market being recycled. So that could be a great opportunity as a local economy. Let's invest into recycling this aluminium, because right now, yes, it is recovered, but then it's sent somewhere else where there's a need for aluminium. This could be a great opportunity. Aluminium could actually provide lots of new jobs for people to move from the single-use plastic industry to maybe a single-use aluminium industry. But aluminium then can be used when it's recycled for anything, to make your computers, to make your phones, to make window frames, to make chairs and doors. So these are exciting things. But again, you need to have specific entities, bodies, organizations that are focused on this development. Great that the UAE has now a council on circular economies. This is what is needed, and hopefully all the other countries in the region will follow suit, because we're very lucky to be in the UAE. We're ahead, very much ahead. In these past 15 years, things have changed so much. I remember I went to one of the first conferences organized by the Green Building Council here, and they were talking about having 5% of the energy produced in the UAE deriving from renewables. And today, 15 years later, we're actually talking about 50, 75%. So this is great, and hopefully things will change. But it cannot be what Unsi said, it cannot be anymore that we do and then we fix. We need to plan ahead of this growth.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
and this planning, as you're talking about energy, I mean, energy is really a key. It's the main resource of the UAE and the region, and it could change, as you just said it very well. And it's also the main income source, and it could change as well. Now, I see a clear transition, and you mentioned it. So the UAE is building gigantic solar power plants on one hand, both Dubai and Abu Dhabi. As well as implementing progressively emirate by emirate laws that allow individuals to connect their solar panels or their renewable energy sources to the national grid. This is a great step. That's the first step, and this is really what needed to be done, and it's done and in progress. Now the next step is we cannot just do business as usual, thinking that we'll replace oil by solar, but we are able to go ahead and completely blindly consume, buy, spend, waste, etc. It has to go together with a change in the mindset, in the waste mindset. So energy needs to be saved, because although I've been working in the solar energy field for 10 years before founding IDAMA, and I know that I used to claim that we can feed the whole planet with solar, and it's true, but it's not at zero cost. We cannot just think that there is a magical formula. We have to take the problem holistically. In parallel with producing solar energy, we need to save. We need to save. That's our biggest stock. That's our biggest energy stock. And so the UAE and the Gulf, in that way, producing solar and renewable and saving, will be able, hopefully, duration will be a couple of tens of years, to transition completely and to have this virtuous circle where you become completely independent from fossil fuels. They are using the fossil fuels to create this independence, and that's great. They are producing solar panels thanks to oil somehow indirectly, and this is great. And at some point, those solar panels will allow the country and the region to have aluminium recycling plants, to have their whole industry. But this will be greatly helped by saving and monitoring of consumption and energy. And this step is still not yet started, or it's, let's say, shyly started at this stage, the saving part.
Right. So I think both of you are pointing out a lot that the government is doing. We seem to be working in the right direction. However, there's still a lot to be done, right? So if you had to propose certain things from a advocacy, government policy level, what things do you think should be the focus, let's say UAE in specific, to narrow it down, to help tackle these issues further?
You are doing campaigns. You want to start?
I'm sorry, but my internet
Your connection.
connection is unstable, so I've lost totally your question.
Okay, so my question is that if we know the government is doing a lot, you both talked about what the government's investing in solar, they're doing a lot for food security by hydroponics, etc. But we're still facing a crisis, and there's still a lot more to be done. So what changes in policy, or what initiatives do you propose from a government perspective, should be done to help control the crisis, so to say?
I'll start maybe as
Yeah,
she's
sure. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
she's maybe you can write to her the question.
Sure.
So but actually you heard it. Okay, cool.
I
Go
heard
ahead.
bits and pieces, but I'm trying to change my connection. So go ahead.
Okay.
I'll try to change my Wi-Fi.
I know what they are working on, so I will let her talk about that part.
Okay.
Because I do think that it's vital. And from my side, to be honest, so this is a mix between IDAMA and my personal path. So our work and my personal path. So we work a lot on energy and on the city and urban planning, let's say, which is completely related to energy. And to be honest, being the Gulf and the UAE in particular, being a big player in the energy sector, both in production, consumption, and in the shift, in the transition as well. So really, energy is a key point in the UAE economy in general. This definitely needs to be a focus point. Electricity is extremely cheap in the UAE, which means that it's sold at loss. It's sold at loss, and it creates unhealthy competition. Oil, that means that oil and gas are subsidized because they are still the majority today. When you want to install solar panels, you have to buy them by yourself. Because oil and gas are subsidized, it's not worth it.
Right.
So the government, or the governments actually, but UAE in particular, have solved it in investing by themselves. They are building gigantic power plants. That's great. But now they have to go, actually they have to continue something that they started, which is, and I'm sorry for people who are listening, electricity price needs to increase. Oil price needs to increase. It needs at least to reach market level. Today, it's 1/4 of the market level in the UAE. It doesn't make sense. It's a loss for the country, and it makes it difficult for people to invest in those. They really need to be activists, and there are a lot of them. But so that's really that's one key point. So bringing energy costs and prices to market level at least, and why not with taxes for the future. And then another point is again on the saving aspect. This is as well progressively being implemented, but I see it shy, and I don't know why. I mean, I guess there are a lot of players in this field, but so we've been speaking about imposing an Istidama norm. So Istidama is the energy efficiency reference for buildings in Abu Dhabi. And this is the first one in the UAE. We've been talking about imposing this on buildings for some time. It started, but it's still very shy. So now only new buildings need to reach a level of one. I don't remember if it's 1 star or 1 pearl, or I forgot. We should make it higher. We should make it on existing buildings, because as you know, the UAE has a lot of glass buildings, and glass in a sunny environment acts as a solar oven. It's a bit weird when you're already hot that you heat up the inside, but then you put AC, you know. So yeah. So the saving part, it's not just about switching off the light. It is about that, but not only. So from governmental, so both Emirates, UAE, and Gulf, what has started but is now being a bit slow needs really to speed up. We need to impose norms on buildings. Really, it's the main market in the UAE. So those would be my two. So the energy and the buildings.
Got it.
And then on consumption, I'm sure you will, Tatiana, you will.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, at the end of the day, and what is upsetting, Unsi, is that these norms exist.
Yeah.
They're just not being reinforced, and there's no control, no monitoring, and they've been yet. And I think, you know, here you have two interests. One interest of the UAE is to attract people who have business ideas and who want to invest and build. So if you start putting too many restrictions, the fear is that then these investments will come less. But we need, I think, to think about the quality. And I think if the main focus is about amazing buildings that then become valuable assets, that's where there's a change, because we need to stop building crap all over, you know, just to build and put some people inside. And this is the wrong concept. The crap, I hope it's allowed to say crap.
That's fine.
It's about everything we do, right? There is crap everywhere. Crap in what you buy, crap that things you purchase in fashion, crap food. There's crap a lot. We need to stop. We need to look at what is qualitative, what is valuable to us, and that's where things will change. I think from a government point of view, they understand this value point. They understand that they have to stand above everyone else and start investing in value. And this is why you have the UAE signing the Paris Agreement, the UAE trying really to push the Sustainable Development Goals, the UAE looking at the future and sustainability and energy and recycling and all this. From another point of view, I think the connection that needs to be made, and this is also happening, is with the public and with the residents. From one end, one big step that happened, now they're offering, you know, these golden visas, and maybe people will be able to get a passport. This is incredible. 10 years ago, I would never have thought this is happening. But to retain people here and to really feel that, you also need to give them a quality of life. Why should I stay here? What is the relationship I have with the government? And the UAE is also really good at this, right? Making you feel home somehow. And I think right now, for example, we're working on an incredible campaign, which is going to better our life from an environmental point of view and the way we consume. Unfortunately, I can't say anything more than this. But what I can say is that it's happening. There is an understanding that people want change, people want to be more healthy. Actually, health is a big aspect of living in the UAE, right? And you have a lot of push for fitness. It's a bit of the California of the Middle East. Everyone here is fit and you have a lot of sports happening. But for example, in our campaigns, when we talk about food, when we talk about agriculture, when we talk about even plastic pollution, health is a very big aspect as well. And this is where people need to understand that, for example, plastic pollution is affecting their health. It's not only about the turtle. And honestly, only 10% of the population worldwide will care about the turtle. They will be sorry. They will say, oh, I'm so sorry for the turtle with the straw in the nose that she's suffering. 5 minutes later, they're drinking and using a straw. So the only way for people to understand the issue of the environmental crisis is also talking about what's happening to us individuals, because unfortunately, we've become a very individualistic society. You know, before we were communities, we knew each other, we knew our neighbors, we knew how to live as a community and help each other. Now we don't even know the guy next door. And this is a problem. So, but if I'm telling you that this item has chemicals that are going to give you, unfortunately, a disease, that's where there's a bell that rings, you know, and this is where it's important for the government also to create awareness to residents and citizens on the damages. So yes, we have organic agriculture happening here. Why? Why is it important to consume organic? What are the effects on our body on foods that actually have pesticides and other chemicals? Why should we stop, you know, drinking from plastic bottled water? Yes, it's full of microplastics. From the day you are, the manufacturing of the bottle already produces microplastics. Then microplastics are all over, unfortunately, right now. They found microplastics on Everest. There are videos of, you know, carrot roots and tomato roots actually absorbing microplastic from the soil. Again, people, when they hear this, they don't really care. But then when they understand what that microplastic and what those chemicals can do to their body, that's another issue. So I think there's a lot that has changed. Again, 2 years ago, the Environment Agency in Abu Dhabi launched a very interesting survey to the whole population of the UAE, and the questions were about single-use plastic. What did residents in the UAE think about single-use plastic? Right. And out of that survey came the new legislation, which is coming into force in 2022. It was supposed to be 2021, but because of COVID, it's been delayed. But now you have a law that for Abu Dhabi makes single-use plastics off, and they are forbidden. So by 2022, this will come into force, and hopefully this is something that then will be applied to all the Emirates. And hopefully, without this kind of regulation, things won't change. So right. Regulations for me are key. Right. Same thing with filtered waters. We always say, put a filter in your home. You can drink tap water. It's just a matter of, you know, having clean water. This needs to happen not only in our homes. This needs to happen in malls. This needs to happen in restaurants and in hotels. This is happening. Last week, they announced 19 standards from the Dubai Tourism Initiative, where basically all the hotels will have to remove single-use plastic. This is amazing. You know, the hospitality sector here is massive. So in Dubai alone, we're talking about 800 hotels almost. Imagine 800 hotels consuming on a daily basis plastic bottles. It's crazy. The moment you have such a standard coming into place and telling you that by July 1st, you need to start looking at solutions to remove plastic, this is amazing. Okay. This is where the government and the authorities within governments have a huge power. And they can create change. So definitely, and it's little things. We're talking about bottled water, you know, we're talking about food waste. Food waste is another huge issue. There are now initiatives from the Ministry of Food Security, from the Ministry of Environment to support businesses, hotels, and restaurants to be able to, you know, deal with this food waste, reduce it. You need that. Waste management also, it's a big issue. Where is the recycling here? And we should have, like other countries, taxation on waste. It's not possible that if an entity produces 25 tons of waste, pays 100 dirhams the same way the other guy that produces 10 kilos of waste. No, everyone should be responsible for their own consumption, therefore waste. And the moment you put a taxation, and it's what Unsi was saying, right? We need to increase the price of oil, we need to increase the price of electricity. Well, we need to start taxation as well, because it's the only way to enforce. Then the question would be, I don't know, Unsi, where does that money go, and how can it be invested then into supporting even more this ecosystem of sustainability within the country? But we need a bit of a stick, you know. We're good with the carrots, some people would follow, but there's a point where you need the stick. And this has been a dilemma. It's a question I've been asked all the time.
Of course.
Stick or carrot? Stick. We need a bit of stick, yeah.
These are really great perspectives, and I think, to be honest, for me individually, you all make it sound much better than it is. With UAE, a lot of people assume, you know, it's, oh, people here are not at all conscious, but the government does seem to be doing a lot, which is really great. And it's amazing how we can just continuously go on talking about these issues. But I think from a consumer perspective, just to put into context for everyone attending and everyone who's going to watch this session, how do we as individuals become more conscious, and what recommendations would you have for people to not contribute negatively to what's going on? I don't know.
See all of the above.
Yeah. I think it's what we said at the beginning, right? That people should not feel afraid. And it's good that if, you know, people follow and listen such discussions, they get to have more information, but they should not feel overwhelmed, and they should understand that they can start very small. It's about making one choice, one step at a time. So what is their main interest? Is it food? Well, let's start, you know, choosing properly your food. Is it locally produced? Is it organic? Try to buy very little so you don't end up wasting it. Try composting if you can, if you have a garden. But don't start everything together, just very small steps, because otherwise you feel overwhelmed. Installing a filtration system is good. You know, saying no to red meat once a week already if you're a carnivore, and you know, some people eat meat every day. Say no to meat once a week. Then you're going to see it's actually really nice, and you discover other foods, and you can actually say no to meat 2, 3, 4 times a week. When I started saying no to plastic, I started with bottled water, very simple. And then after a while, you know, you go to the supermarket and you look at these aisles of products, and suddenly it hits you like everything is in a bottle of plastic. My shampoo, my detergent, my conditioner, my everything. And it clicks. It will happen, and it will come naturally. So I don't believe in terrorism and in this media that, you know, make you feel horrible and things are going to be, you're just not going to do anything. So step by step, I believe in education. What UNS is doing with schools and kids is amazing. So putting kids into camps, making them watching documentaries, make them interact and come up with ideas. And UNSI, I'm sure, has tons of examples of how kids can actually be resourceful and teach us a lot of things. So yeah, reduce, but not everything together. Choose one thing. If you're fashion addicted, try to buy a bit less, maybe nicer things, a bit more expensive, but that will last you years. I had this for 10 years. So, you know, at the end of it, I think that's the secret, step by step.
Perfect.
And as you said, indeed, we work with schools, and you see that kids in their own environment, which is the school, they have an impact because it is theirs. So they can set the rule, and they can choose a specific topic, which, for example, is single-use plastic. They can actually forbid it, right? They can tax it. They can. So they have their own their own space, and this is going beyond kids. This is what I would advise as well: is use your professional world. Don't be shy about that. Are you an urban planner? Are you an architect? Are you working in, I don't know, an insurance company? Are you working for Mars or those chocolate stuff? You can suggest small changes that will make a big impact. You can suggest to change a little bit the orientation of the house so that it doesn't always face the sun, whereas you're in the Gulf. You can suggest that maybe the material of the packaging can be something else than disposable plastic or unrecyclable objects. So that is those small steps can be done at the professional level. And I see a lot of companies doing socially responsible elements or activities for their employees. Now, what they can do, so companies are like people, right? They are legal entities and they are made of people. And those small steps that Tatiana said, they can do them as well. Now, the step of going and doing activities is a great one. The next one is your own core business. You're selling computers. Are you designing objects? Now think about that as well in your work, because in your work, you're impacting a lot. Train yourself, understand what's the impact of what you're doing. And we see this more and more, that people, when they start a venture, when they start a company, an NGO, an organization, they start to think, okay, so what is it actually going to have as an impact, what I'm doing on people, environment, nature, climate, etc. And there is this conscience, this understanding. And yeah, so this is a thinking about the impact of what you will do as a core is a step, and then take a small step to reduce it or to make it positive. That's next step.
I really enjoyed what both of you said about this, because at ShiftEco, we continuously tell people small shifts, big impact. Switch over from plastic bottles is such a small step, but it has a massive impact in the longer term, because it doesn't just have a longer term impact on you not consuming microplastics, but then people around you see what you're doing. Your family sees, your friends sees. The ripple effect is a lot more. So we totally resonate with what you both have said regarding it. We have our last 5 minutes, and this discussion has been so interesting. I haven't ended up asking you half the things because there's just so, I think we can sit for 2 more hours and it may not be enough to discuss all the topics that we want to. But I want to leave the last 5 minutes for you guys to leave any recommendations or any last comments that you all have about this crisis, about what should be done. Any last comments from both of you?
I think the positive thinking that you started with, Tatiana, no?
Yeah.
Yes. And I think it's a common thing. If you look at the various documentaries right now from Sir David Attenborough, Life on the Planet, for example, they always show facts, figures, and how things are bad and could be even worse, but they all end up with a very positive message. And I think this is what we need. It's some encouragement that things can still be stopped, not reversed, but stopped and or reduced, and we don't have to. Exactly. And I think we need to remain on that positive aspect, and we need to think that everything we do is important. Every single thing. The food I order when I'm in the office, the packaging. Why don't I maybe 2, 3 times a week try to make my food at home and use a reusable container? When I go buy, and even the bottled water. I mean, to go back to the bottle of plastic bottled water, a single 1 liter bottle, just to produce that plastic, needs the same amount it contains actually of oil and 2 times water. Another very big, I think, impact and aspect of the environmental crisis is water. Water is needed for everything we do. So thinking about what water, where is water around us? It's in our apple we eat. It's in the things we wear. it's in the production of everything. So when we throw something, we have to think that thing needed water, and I'm just dumping it and it's lost. So I think it's very important. I just would like to make everyone aware as well that there is a new campaign in the UAE. It's called Refill UAE. It's about having the opportunity to refill our reusable bottle everywhere. A lot of restaurants and hotels have come on board. So from now on, you can, go around with your reusable bottle, you refill it at home, but now when it's done, you don't have to purchase a bottle of water and refill it. You can actually go to restaurants, cafes, and hotels, and they will refill it for you. Just have to download the Refill app. And it works like Careem or Uber. When you switch it on, you can see around you where are the nearest refill stations. This is massive. It will empower not only us living here to be able to refill, but also tourists. We have to think that in the UAE, we have so many tourists coming in and they buy bottled water all the time. So now they will be able to refill. So this is a very small action that it's at country level, started in the UK years ago, and now it's all over the world. So we're very happy to launch this in the UAE. It's a small thing, but can have a very big impact. I hope everyone will join for this.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Tatiana. Any last words, Unzi?
No, that's it. I think it's time anyway. Thanks for the positivity note. I support this idea, and yeah, it's about. I mean, we suggested a lot of do's, so let's do then all together.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much, Unzi. Thank you so much, Tatiana. It has been wonderful speaking with you guys and getting your input. It's really been valuable. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
To everyone that attended, thank you so much for attending. We know it's a working day and all of you all have a lot to do. So thanks a lot for joining in. Just a heads up, we at ShiftEco continuously run a lot more webinars. So look out for Learn with ShiftEco. We keep posting our events there. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. See you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Namrata, and everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.